Okay, my name is Jamex de la Torre. I live both in the Guadalupe Valley of Baja California, Mexico, and San Diego. I am a mixed media artist, glass artist, and a lenticular art artist.
Hi, my name is Einar de la Torre. I work with my brother Jamex, living also in Baja California, Valle de Guadalupe, and in San Diego. Also mixed media art.
Well, glass blowing, I took a job in 1978 with a commercial lamp worker, Kemp Curtis, and he decided out of the blue to start teaching me basic production of little glass figures. The following year, I entered Cal State University, Long Beach, to go to the art school there, and they happened to have glass blowing, which was you know how it is. It's never our plan or our intention. You just stumble up on it and you go, "Wow, this is the sculpting medium for me."
Yeah, and for me, being 3.5 years younger than Jamex, I decided in high school that I wanted to also pursue the arts, and Jamex was already going to Long Beach State Universities and was teaching me some lamp working, which we made the little figures and things we made for crystal shops. That's how we survived through our college years. And then later on, when we started to do larger work at the hot shop at this university, we sort of saw that as we wanted to separate our sort of like our money-making production from lamp work into, and then the glass work started to become more mixed media.
Well, the mentor we always mention is Thurman Statham. We met him way back in 1982, and he duly impressed us with taking glass beyond beyond its means into more conceptual work. It really impressed us as an art medium, and he's still a dear close friend. We both chat with him often, and along the ways, we had a moment where, as young artists, that we were frustrated with not being able to get anywhere, and watching him struggle with selling here and there and making figuring out how to sell artwork. And he told us, you have to figure out for yourself, how do you keep going and keep yourself as free as possible.
And as far as a transformative experience, well, there's a lot of things that happen, I think, in your career that are, they're all a series of steps, I think. It's never any one thing. But something that happened that is actually takes us directly to the Bay Area is in 1995, we had a whole exhibition broken by a madman that went in and broke all the works in the MACLA. It's a Latin American museum in San Jose, California. So we had a moment of having everything destroyed, which was sort of cathartic because you really question everything when all of your work gets destroyed and work that you already have planned for going in. We had a gallery in New York that was going to carry some of that work, and it's interesting how that having a kind of a disastrous moment also really focuses your will and intent.
Firstly, I think it's important to talk about how is it that we collaborate? How is it that two brothers collaborate? And I think there's a lot of really unexpected benefits to collaborating. So basically, you're released from ultimate responsibility, which I think if you're a lone creator is pretty heavy. And when you're a collaborator, it's easier to let it go. So in a way, when you're creating something, it becomes its own thing. It's complete. It's not completely out of your hands, but it's not completely in your hands either. You know what I mean?
So now when we work, very often we're not even next to each other, and that maybe I'm here in San Diego and he's down in our studio in Baja California, and he has freedom to do anything he wants. If it's major, he might ask me or call me or do a FaceTime and show me something. But in general, that would only be in terms of momentous things that we might, or we'll wait to do some things together. But in general, we feel like we have that trust, which is really the biggest part of it. And the trust is that 1 + 1 = more than 2, that there's more to be gotten by it than just two people working on something. There's more layering, there's more additive potential lines of consideration or or ideas and the juxtaposition, all of that. Yeah, and I think that that as far as processes, there's we like to sort of talk about how we might have three different prongs, you know, so pitchfork. One of them is gallery work, meaning, you know, object based, whether it's sculptural and three-dimensional and pedestal or it's wall piece. The other one is installation work, which might be commissioned by a museum, and it's more of an environment you're creating, or put yourself inside of the artwork, so to speak. And lastly, we also participate a lot in public art. And that has, of course, all of those hoops to jump through and constraints, a lot of constraints. When we blow glass, on the other hand, we almost always start with a drawing. And the drawing, it might be started by one of us and then continued by the other, and we sort of grab it from each other and add a few more details and add things and say, what if we do this? And then finally, we're off to the production, and we are very conscious that since we're kind of itinerant glass blowers, meaning that we mostly blow in other shops, we are subject to whatever the shop is like, the help there, the type of glass they're using. All of those things influence, and we allow that to happen because we don't fight it. We don't try to control it more than we need to, because we realize that there's variables, many variables in our process. And when we do installation work, that usually has more to do with ideas and concepts. It might involve a glass of wine and just having a talk and going over details. And we tend to come up with a lot of ideas, and then we collaborate on the stuff that resonates with the other one, meaning that we start building upon it and then add in more and more layers. And that happens with our regular work as well, our gallery work. And insofar as we keep adding more layers, more meaning seems to be built on it. And sometimes, for instance, the title might influence the route that a piece might take or how the piece gets finished. So there's a lot to unpack there. Not to mention the fact that we're working sometimes glass and recently in Starworks in North Carolina, got the stuff shipped back to San Diego. We smuggle it down to our studio in Baja California, finish the pieces, smuggle it back to our studio in San Diego, and then it gets shipped out. So there's a lot of there's a lot of process. I think that we, you know, learning, going to school, early 80s or late 70s for my brother and me into the early 80s. There was a lot of minimalism at the time. And I think that we've definitely reacted against minimalism. We love Mexican craft. We grew up with a big love of it from our family, from our parents. And I think that we always felt like, you know, and of course, going to Europe, you see all of this embellishment and Catholic churches and all of this stuff. I think we always felt that there was a lot more reducing or distilling to minimalism was definitely not our thing. So we're sort of maximalists. We want that and we want that something else. It's kind of like something we like to say is that we don't want to be self-defined because it's self-definition is self-limiting, and we want to be able to do things we have not done. And be things we haven't been. And therefore, more and more seems to always be a better answer than I am this, therefore I'm not that. And I think that in terms of messages, that we figured out that you can have enough content through layering of ideas that it doesn't have to exclusively be one reading. You can go ahead and choose a different path for reading the work. And we not only do we approve of that, we enjoy it when people come up with new ways of looking at work that we may not have thought of.
There's a piece in particular that I always thought it was momentous in our career. Is we had an opportunity to do a residency in Grand Arts, Kansas City, and we developed 6 new installation art pieces because we wanted to develop our language as installation artists. And one of the pieces that we made there was an Olmec head made out of contemporary materials. So we basically used a travel trailer that we found, used travel trailer, and carved it out and made a resin face for it that's very much like an Olmec head. So we did a contemporary interpretation of the Olmec head. And in the eyeballs, we used these old-fashioned TV sets. And basically, we cut out a circle in a piece of paper, and we had a poet friend of ours, Quincy Troop, do a trope about maybe the Olmecs were actually African. So the only thing we filmed was his mouth through the circle, and that was the iris of each monitor. And I think that that was a well-rounded, very complex piece. I think it changed us. That residency changed us because it was really, after that residency, we were very much thinking about complex installation works that were not bound to any commercial intent, which is a lot of freedom.
A piece that really exemplifies our studio practice, and I would choose maybe 2020, which is a piece that we made in 2020, and the way we use material culture, for instance, it was a baby that was probably for a display, mid-century display for diapers or something. It's just a baby with diapers, and we cut the head off and put our own blown glass head on him. And then my brother cast out of resin a bed of roses to put the baby sitting on it. And we had a doll bed that also an acquired object to put all of this mattress on. And it just, I think that piece was talking about how 2020, very much in the vein of the old, out with the old and in with the new. Calendars used to be 100 years ago that the old man went out with the old year and a baby represented the new year for the new year's sort of transition. So we thought this is the transition baby for 2020. Here comes COVID. It's the emperor, sort of an Aztec emperor with a remote control in his hand that's wielding sort of havoc on humanity. And we wanted to talk about how, here we are thinking about all of these omens and signs and things that are that the new year might have or not. We have resolutions. We have all of these complicated ideas because it's a construct, the idea of a change. So I think that piece is a good one to show our use of material. It's an excellent example of our blown glass, of the use of material culture, of imbuing more into something that's already there by the layering of commentary and finishes that the surface finishes and so on.
I mean, as artists and as mixed media artists, why trouble yourself with glass? It's actually a really good question, especially being a medium that is particularly hunted by a pretty big carbon footprint. And to us, glass blowing has always been a freeing medium. There's simply no sculpting medium that gives you the freedom that glass does. That you can finish a completely polished in full color piece in a matter of hours, and it's out the next day. Is something that is impossible to produce in any other material. And also, I have to say the collaborative aspect, because our larger work, we do it together in collaboration with ourselves, but also with the team that's working with us. And that is in itself is also contributing to the piece and contributing to the very enjoyable process of this spontaneous moment of attention and action, and it's really quite a delightful rush, that moment.
Yeah, I would concur. I think that the glass community is a big part of what we like about glass, and I think that in that sense, craft, in a funny way, is very intertwined with community. It always has been tradition because of tradition, of course, and I think that we value glass because of the friends and the allegiances and studios and all of that stuff that makes the community happen. And I think that that's a terrific, wonderful thing that contemporary art has a tougher time with, because then those are usually through institutions as opposed through more of a community basis, and that's hopefully that will never die.